Welcome to your ultimate pit stop, Piston Pundit, where we pull back the hangar doors on the world of machines that move us, and sometimes fail us in the most tragic ways. Today's story takes us beyond the asphalt and into the skies, where engineering, oversight, and accountability collide. We're breaking down the chilling crash of Air India Flight 171 and peeling back the layers on what could be one of the most damning revelations in Boeing's history. This isn't just about one aircraft. It's about what happens when systemic shortcuts, software blind spots, and safety culture failures combine. Buckle up. Here are the mechanical breakdowns, internal revelations, and investigative fallout shaking the aviation world. The tragedy that turned turbines silent. Just minutes after liftoff from Ahmedabad, Flight 171, a Boeing 787-8 Dreamliner, spiraled out of the sky and slammed into a dormitory, killing all 260 on board and 19 on the ground. But what stunned investigators wasn't just the tragedy. It was what they heard on the cockpit recording. One pilot gasping, "Why did you cut off?" And the other, "I didn't." Initial reports revealed something rare and deeply troubling. Both engines stopped receiving fuel mid-air. Fuel cutoff switches had flipped, mechanically, not manually, despite no pilot input. The aircraft barely cleared 650 feet before plunging, a height shockingly low for a commercial airliner to stall. The automatic deployment of the ram air turbine, or RAT, a backup generator meant for last-ditch electrical failures, offered a grim clue. Complete engine and systems failure had occurred almost instantly after takeoff. Was this a case of pilot error? Or are we staring at a deeper ghost in the machine, perhaps buried in Boeing's proprietary thrust control malfunction accommodation software, which could have incorrectly shut down the engines? But that mystery only deepens when you peel back Boeing's internal practices. Behind the fuselage, Boeing's culture under pressure. When you dig into the debris of Flight 171, you find more than mangled parts. You uncover a pattern. Enter Sam Salahpour, a former Boeing engineer turned whistleblower who pulled no punches in front of Congress. His claims? Boeing had cut corners on the Dreamliner, deliberately. Misaligned drill holes, improper rivets, corrosion inside the forward pressure bulkhead, a component critical for maintaining cabin pressure at cruising altitude. These weren't isolated cases. They were patterns, and these jets were already in service. Aircraft that were supposed to meet rigorous FAA standards were being fast-tracked, with mechanics allegedly cramming parts together, compressing components to fit, even when it violated engineering tolerances. These weren't just manufacturing errors, they were structural compromises hiding behind polished fuselages. One site, Boeing's South Carolina facility, stood out as a red flag. Regulators flagged repeated issues, but Boeing's internal quality control allegedly labeled many of them as acceptable. FAA inspectors demanded endoscopic camera checks to peer into hard-to-see crevices. But by then, critics argued, the barn doors had already been left wide open. Before we delve deeper, take a second to hit that subscribe button and join the growing pit crew here at Piston Pundit. It helps us keep the stories and the truth flying high. Now let's zoom in on a small but crucial piece of emergency tech that says a lot about what really failed. RAT deployment, the alarm bell that screamed too late. The ram air turbine, affectionately known in aerospace circles as the windmill of last resort, deploys only during critical power failures. On Flight 171, it activated not at 35,000 feet, but seconds after takeoff. In aviation history, RATs have saved the day. Think Air Canada's Flight 143 or the Miracle on the Hudson. But this wasn't a miracle. This was a mechanical red flag flapping in the face of software denial. When the RAT deploys that early, it screams of a total systems blackout. And here's the kicker. Boeing had seen RAT misfires before. At Phoenix Sky Harbor, a stationary Dreamliner had its RAT pop out like a jack-in-the-box due to a software glitch simulating a full failure. Rather than broadcast the flaw or issue a fleet-wide patch, Boeing allegedly kept it quiet. In a vehicle, you'd never accept a brake failure chalked up to a sensor bug. Why should we settle for it in a jetliner? But the rat wasn't the only red flag. Let's talk about water and how it quietly shorted out Boeing's credibility. Leaks, shorts, and systemic oversight. The post-crash deep dive uncovered one more shocking vulnerability. Water leaks into the aircraft's electrical and electronics bay, or E&E bay. This bay is no minor compartment. It's the brainstem of the plane, controlling flight systems, electrical power, cabin pressure, and more. Turns out, poorly sealed lavatories allowed water to seep through the cabin floor, straight into these critical circuits. And no, this wasn't a freak incident. Boeing had been made aware of this risk during initial production, but instead of implementing a robust redesign, they went with quick fixes, temporary sealants, and a "watch it closely" directive. The result? Short circuits, corrupted avionics data, and wet cockpit carpets. Yes, wet carpets in the cockpit. In an aircraft that should be sealed tighter than a submarine. These were not one-off cases. This was a chronic condition of design laziness and managerial denial. Worse still, Boeing reportedly greenlit components from lower-tier suppliers like MPS in Italy, even after these suppliers were flagged for sending substandard structural parts. Nearly 500 Dreamliners are believed to contain these components. Boeing's response? Don't delay deliveries. Just keep flying. In aviation, cutting corners doesn't just cut costs, it carves risk into every rivet. These engineering failures soon snowballed into business disasters. Aftershocks, lost trust, lost orders. As damning revelations mounted, Boeing's reputation nosedived. Major airlines like United and Lufthansa began shifting future orders toward Airbus. Even the FAA, once closely aligned with Boeing, tightened its grip, boosting third-party audits and scaling back automatic approvals. By late 2024, the fallout reached the top. Boeing's CEO resigned, stock value plummeted, and whistleblowers who raised red flags faced retaliation or dismissal. Perhaps most telling, global regulators stopped taking Boeing's word and began launching their own independent inspections. Once celebrated as Boeing's crown jewel, the 787 Dreamliner now serves as a cautionary tale of what happens when corporate priorities shift from engineering to earnings. The post-merger culture stemming from Boeing's union with McDonnell Douglas in the 90s seems to have dulled its commitment to safety-first design. As investigations continue across India, the US, and beyond, one haunting question remains, not just in aviation circles but in the minds of millions of flyers worldwide. Can Boeing earn back the world's trust, or has it already lost too much altitude to recover? Verdict: Dreamliner or Disasterpiece? So, what is the Boeing 787 Dreamliner? A sleek leap in aerospace tech, or a flying reminder of what happens when safety takes a backseat to speed and profit? The crash of Air India Flight 171 didn't just trigger an investigation, it uncovered a pattern. Uncommanded engine shutdowns, faulty software logic, corrosion from water leaks, and whistleblower warnings ignored. Rat deployments, once rare, now feel like distress flares from a flawed system. The Dreamliner was meant to revolutionize flight. Instead, it may symbolize the cost of cutting corners and compromising quality in the race to innovate. Now, we turn it over to you. Is Boeing still worthy of public trust, or should it be grounded until real reform happens? Have the FAA and global regulators done enough to prevent tragedies like Flight 171? Is the 787 a triumph of design, or a cautionary tale when profit overshadows precision? Drop your thoughts in the comments. For the latest updates on the automotive world and more in-depth analysis, subscribe to Piston Pundit and hit the notification bell. Thanks for watching, and keep your wrenches sharp and your seatbelts fastened. We've got more coming. You can now check out any of the videos on the screen. There's plenty more to explore.